You're listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
Welcome to the Backseat Thriver podcast. I'm Christina Johnston.
And I'm Bridget Kostas.
And we really think you guys should listen because we think we're pretty funny.
We are pretty funny.
Yeah.
We're unfiltered. It's real. It's sometimes what you need to hear.
Sometimes what you don't.
But tune in.
Tune in. That was good.
That works.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
So Bridget shared something really exciting. We are officially in season 3.
Official.
Congratulations.
Thank
Wow.
you.
So
Yes.
our amazing guest today, you're helping us kick off a fantastic season 3. So this is just absolute perfection.
Perfection.
Okay, so I have been thinking about our topic so much for today. I woke up super early and I was just kind of sitting and thinking of all of the questions that have come to me in the last 48 hours, but really the last week, and really since we started doing some research on our guest for today. And I felt so inspired and so excited. And honestly, I know this sounds a little silly. I felt a little hopeful. Like, I really think that I'm going to be able to undo some of my limiting beliefs. And I really think that our listeners are going to get some really actionable things that they can start putting into practice in their own lives. So I know I say this every week, but I am really excited for today.
I am too. I'm with you. I am super hopeful. And then so we'll give a little background on our guest here in just a second. But so she was sick this week. And we didn't think she was going to be here. So
this was up in the air.
Oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? Because
It'll just be you and me, I guess.
What we had planned to talk about, we're like, wait, you don't know this. I don't know. I mean, I know my own intuition, but I can only speak about my own experiences.
Yeah,
It's
you're not the
exciting,
expert on this one.
But not the expert. So let's bring in the expert.
Let's bring in our expert.
Let's
I love
bring
it.
in our expert. Let's welcome to Backseat Thriver, Sheila Elaine. Woo, woo, woo.
Thank you. I am so excited. Let's do this.
Let's do this. Good morning, Sheila. Okay, so I have our intro here.
Okay.
And hey, listeners, you're going to be blown away. All right, so Sheila Elaine is a keynote speaker, life coach, and creative arts performer dedicated to empowering high-achieving women to prioritize their own well-being and fulfillment. Through her work, she guides individuals to clarify their true desires, release self-limiting patterns, and connect with their body's innate wisdom, aiming to help them create lives filled with joy, meaning, and purpose. Mic drop.
Boom.
Boom.
Who doesn't need that?
Do that.
Who
Yes.
doesn't need that?
Yes.
Let's do that.
Sheila.
In fact, when you just said that you know your own intuition,
Yes.
that is fantastic because some people don't. We do live in a culture in which women have been told not to trust themselves, but to trust authority figures and to go along where just do as you're told,
Yes. Yes.
be people pleasers,
Yes.
perfectionists,
Yes.
all these things that keep us from actually following our intuition. And then we also live in a culture that really reveres the brain as being the all-powerful, as if the body is simply a pedestal for that big, beautiful brain.
Yeah.
But the reality is the body holds so much wisdom. And yes, the brain is super powerful. And our thoughts do create things. However, if our body is dysregulated, if it is anxious and off balance, then those thoughts can be a runaway train on
100%.
and we can't pull them in, which could be part of what you're saying in terms of a limiting belief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know better than to think this thought, but you can't stop thinking that thought. So it really is coming into the body. And so some of the very basic tools are actually feeling into your body. So feel your feet on the ground and start to pay attention. Actually, take your forefinger and your thumb and rub it together in a circle so gently that you can feel the fingerprint.
Okay, listeners, you better be doing this with us.
But if you're driving, keep your eyes open.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But it just helps you go, oh, I am a body, right? And then you can do a body scan where you go from the top of your head all the way down your head, throat, shoulders, chest, torso, arms, abdomen, hips, thighs, knees, calves, feet back to where they're firmly planted. You can feel yourself planted on the earth. And now notice, where in your body did you feel some constriction or something that felt a little off? Was there anything?
My shoulders.
Everywhere. my shoulders, my back, my right ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the places.
We're used to ignoring it. So now, as you pay attention to what actually had sensation for you, ask it if it has a message for you.
Oh my gosh, see this. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm already just like totally drinking the water on this. Keep going. I love this.
But it's so often we're just not paying attention. And then our body ends up screaming at us in order to get us to pay attention. So when we pay attention, when we notice, that will help connect us to our intuition.
I love that. I think that when I think of intuition, but more so women's intuition, I think of that whisper, that inner whisper that's, hey, guess what? That was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. Hey, guess what? Pay attention here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that is oftentimes what people come up with. I don't know which is intuition and which is fear running the show.
That the connection between the two we were talking about this morning. How do you know the difference?
Even when you said it's like wrong, bad idea or whatever, that's not intuition. Intuition is so kind, is so patient, is so loving, and gives you the simplest of messages.
But moving, like if I'm going to do this, like your intuition isn't telling you like that's a bad idea, you shouldn't do it.
It will generally give you what to do. Yes, I mean, like here's where your body will retract. And we're not paying attention, but the body just kind of retracts. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is not for me. Everybody has had the experience of walking into a room and feeling something creepy or the energy being off in some way. And we are to pay attention to that. I mean, there's case after case in which women put on that people pleaser, or I have to be nice. And so they do that and then end up being assaulted or something, right?
And they always say, I knew
it.
Something was off.
And I didn't listen to it. In fact, my daughter used to live in Tucson and she worked at a restaurant downtown. And she was leaving work one day and she stepped outside and she felt that creepy sensation. She didn't see anything. She didn't need to have the evidence to know something was off. And she saw a cop car and she asked for a ride home. And I was so proud of her because she is anti-authority. Like the girl has some karma with authority figures. Like she's like, no.
I can relate to her on that one.
Yeah.
I hate being told what to do.
Right. But it was like she knew that she needed to do so for her own safety. Whereas my sister-in-law was walking down a street in Minneapolis and she did see, she didn't see, she heard the person's footsteps behind her. She felt the creepiness. She knew it was a problem, but she overrode her intuition by, I'm going to be courageous and brave. I'm just going to walk straighter, taller, with more confidence. And she was mugged. So it's like we can trust ourselves and trust that we do not need to always be people pleasing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That-
How do you trust your gut? Like how do you get to that point where you start listening? And what is it that how do you transition from that, okay, I'm just going to be bigger, faster, and more confident in my space versus, no, listen, turn around, run, do whatever you need to do. Like, how do you start listening to that intuition and react to it and trust it?
It takes time to be able to hear it. And you were asking about the difference between. So when I said it, that the intuition is calm and clear, simple messages. Simple message could be run.
Yeah.
Right? But it's kind of delivered in, like, the fact is, when we are in danger, we get really narrow focused and we know exactly what to do. Fear, on the other hand, has a million different thoughts and we're kind of all over the place, right? And so that is chaotic energy. It's not calm energy. Mm-hmm. And that's how you can tell the difference between it. Now, you can calm your nervous system in those situations. Am I safe in this moment? Oh, yes, I am. Because this is why it takes time to cultivate, is because anything that is different from what the nervous system knows is a threat, even if what the nervous system knows is not healthy for you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love that you've given, I think one of the most powerful tools that you've just given us right now, and this is the easiest little thing to put in your back pocket, that intuition is kind and gentle and loving.
Yeah.
That what a way to differentiate between the fear and the instinct. Mm-hmm. Does intuition come from a basic need for survival? I mean, it's just an innate thing that everyone has. How do you think, practice to really tap into that?
I think absolutely it handles survival, but it goes so far beyond that, mm-hmm. because intuition is also what creates our wildest dreams. I mean, it isn't limited to just getting you through. Mm-hmm. It's thriving.
Oh, I like that.
I like that too, of course.
I like that. So a lot of times you hear intuition, you hear that as a phrase, but I think what's more powerful than that I have heard, growing up, I come from a family of very strong women, is a woman's intuition. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about the women's intuition.
Mm-hmm. When, we all have it. So men do have it. They're just less likely to tap into it because they haven't needed to.
Yeah. So true. It's so true.
But, life sort of wins for them regardless. And
right?
so it is a matter of women's intuition. We know that it is absolutely going to help with survival. And if we keep nurturing it, it will go so much further beyond that into bigger dreams. So you did ask, okay, so there's getting to know your intuition by paying more and more attention to your body, which is just that body awareness, doing a scan. If you're finding that there are spots within your body that are super tense or constricted tightness, go ahead and send it breath. See if it can relax into what you're doing. Because the reality is, when we are stressed and tensed and constricted, we don't have the infinite possibilities. We're offline from our executive brain. So in order to get our executive brain back online, we need to come to a state of coherence, a state of resonance within ourselves. So that's one thing. So what that requires is going back one further step to where I start is with stillness. Now, I say stillness, but stillness does not necessarily always mean you're not moving. Sometimes it is. But reality, most women, or at least especially my early days of career, every single moment of every day was scheduled. I was racing and running, and my life was based on precision timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If one thing
Your calendar
got off, the whole domino
Derailed
effect.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was, which then required me not to depend on anybody else to do anything because I could only trust myself. So then filling the plate even more full. And when you do that, you don't give yourself the opportunity to question if what you are spending all this time on even matters to you.
That's a scary thought. I feel like that is definitely one of those thoughts that I would push aside because for most people, the answer is probably, yeah, this isn't worth it. But you don't want. I don't want to know that.
But I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna disagree with you. Because
Bridget, you got. We were like 20 minutes into this, and you're already on me.
I'm already on you. Okay, so you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Okay.
Because as Sheila is talking about the high achieving woman struggling with that, to listen to the intuition and going that executive route of minute to minute, overlapping meeting. What is my meaning here? What am I doing? And and I'm listening to that thinking, what's the work-life balance? What's life balance? Are you still and are you listening? You stopped. You went through that path. You went through I'm late to meetings. I have to leave early from meetings. I'm canceling. I'm overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
I have run myself so thin that I can't.
Oh my gosh! You noticed I lost a couple pounds. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm running myself so thin that you stopped. You stopped. You saw it. You recognized it, and then here you are today.
Yeah.
This new you taking over your time, your balance, your listening to your intuition of, I need to put more time and effort into me and my family and, my life and who I am today versus the corporate structure and a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention how beautiful that was to witness and how powerful it is to have friendship and community that reflects back to you who you really are.
Bridget, you are phenomenal. That is the number one thing about you. You are incredible that way.
I feel like this is our love podcast.
And the thing about it is that when women have, like I said, that perfectionism piece, you've changed, but now you're beating yourself up for the period of time in which you hadn't changed. Well, you had to go through all of that in order to get here. So she's seeing where you are and how you absolutely listened to your intuition and did exactly what it needed. And you're like, yeah, but I could have done it earlier. Like perfection. And that's what I see over and over and over again with women, especially leaders. They are doing incredible, absolutely mind-blowing work. They're making a huge difference in the world. And they're focused on the 10 to 20% that didn't go exactly according to plan.
Yep.
So take us through. So you have just changed so many women's lives with all of this. What do how do you help women unpack that? And I'm curious, with all of the hundreds and hundreds of women that you've worked with, what is what is the common self-limiting belief, or what is the most common thing that you've seen throughout all of these women? What should we really be paying attention to?
They're not enough, or they're too much, or they're both.
Isn't that that is womanhood so perfectly summed up? You're this, you're that, you're both, or none. It's everything.
Yeah. And that they're not doing it right, and that there's something wrong with them. And so the reality is our brains are going to answer whatever question we give it. So we need to ask better questions. So often, women speak so poorly to themselves that they'll say, "What's wrong with you?" And then the brain will give you 1,000 answers that can all be legitimate. I mean, you can say, "Yeah, that's right." Well, that's not right. If you ask the question, how can I best use my brilliant genius to help the world? That's a better question.
Oh, I love that. I'm writing that down.
It is. I think, when we think about high achieving women or just women in
We're
general,
all high achieving.
We're all high achieving. That's right.
So true.
Let me take that back. Women in general, and from a very early age, I think a lot of us, especially this generation, and it's something that, I'm trying to break the pattern with my own daughter, is from an early age, we're taught to perform, we're taught to achieve, we're taught to please, to be capable but not connected. And it's checking the box. And I think that from a very early age that, if we are too emotional, it's weak. If you're in a corporate setting, you don't sit there and hear men talk about their emotional, oh my gosh, she went off the handle. She's so emotional. It's not a status that you put, on that male persona, but on women, if you're trying to be a capable leader or you're in a leadership position or, even in your home, it's you lose, you lose it for a minute. You're emotional. You must be PMSing. It must be hormonal. Something's going on with you because you showed emotion, because you showed a reaction to it. It's weak.
So here's the thing. When we get that response, if we buy into it, it exists.
It does.
If we
does.
don't, it doesn't. So when they say, "Oh, you must be PMS," no, actually, I'm just human. And I have compassion. And I act these emotions are my gift. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love these emotions are my gift. I love that.
Yeah. And when you talk about how best to lead your daughter, the most important thing is that you lead by example, not by
100%.
So often we're pumping up our girls, telling them how wonderful they are, how they're beautiful, they're smart, they're capable, they're strong, they're all these things. But if you then turn around and criticize yourself,
Yep.
that's all they're taking away.
100%.
She's just saying that because she's my mom and she has to. I know how she really feels because that's how she talks about herself. And I come from her, so I'm just a mini me of her. She really doesn't believe any of that to be true.
Isn't that frightening?
No.
I mean, that scares the crap out of me. That.
No, and I think because I have consciously made that effort. I don't downgrade myself in front of my children. Even if I don't feel good about the way I look, I might not be in the most shape. I might not have, I might not be as confident as I am in myself, but my kids don't see my lack of self-worth. I don't, oh, I don't look good in this. I need to lose weight. No, I'm I put a lot of good money at chicken wings into this body. I put a lot of effort into this girlish figure, and that's, and not that I, take take comedy or humor to, to turn my my own insecurities around. But I have, I've always strived to, be healthy, not skinny. Be kind, not a people pleaser. Be confident, not arrogant. And that's what, like all of these little, and teaching them throughout, obviously, do I make mistakes? Yes. But am I afraid of what I have shared to my kids? No. I think that my husband and I have really tried really hard to balance that message for them and give them the right tools. And it's hard with social media, especially with girls.
Yeah.
Everything that they do is on a camera.
Right.
And it has to be perfect.
So you're doing great, Bridget. You're doing great. And if you want to elevate it, it's not only not criticizing yourself in front of them, because we're energetic beings. And if, our true sense is that we are criticizing ourselves, it can be felt. So start to point out to yourself and others what you do love about your body. I know that that's next level.
That is so hard.
That is so hard.
But what we focus on does expand. And so it's not just ignoring or trying to resist the fact that we don't feel like we stack up to society's expectations. Instead, it's like, boy, my legs are so strong, or, I'm a champion warrior having birthed these children, right? Like whatever it is that you can look to.
I like that.
That is like, how are you magnificent?
See, okay, so this is so fun. So Bridget, you've done a phenomenal job with that with your kids. I think you're so excellent at modeling that behavior. And I just had this conversation with my son the other day where I told him to do something and then I did the exact opposite. And he was like, Mom, and I was like, do as I say, not as I do. But that's not enough, right? I mean, with a 10-year-old, Finley, there's no reason to be, get out of my way, you idiot. I can't. So anyways, about being kind to people at school. So lots more to say on that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I want to talk about some interventions with teens. So stay with us.
On Backseat Thriver, we dive into the messy, meaningful moments of life, especially parenting and mental health, because raising kids today takes more than love. It takes support, insight, and sometimes a little help. That's where LNC Therapy makes a difference. A compassionate mental health private practice proudly serving the Tucson community. They specialize in supporting children, teens, and young adults through challenges like depression, anxiety, ADHD, anger management, grief, and more. With a team of experienced, heart-forward therapists, LNC Therapy offers personalized care that meets your family where they are, whether that's in person or via telehealth. Because every young mind deserves a safe space to grow. LNC Therapy, supporting Tucson families one session at a time. Visit them at 7493 North Oracle Road, Suite 135, or reach out and visit them on their website at hello@lndtherapy.com. Now accepting new clients.
This clean, low-carb protein powder by Long Life Protein proves that less is more when it comes to nutrition. We've packed 24 grams of protein and only 3 grams of carbs into 1 serving of vanilla cream. Our non-GMO ingredient list is simple. Just whey protein concentrate and isolate, our digestive enzyme blend, and natural stevia. The protein builds lean muscle mass, while those enzymes ensure optimal nutrient absorption. Explore our other guilt-free protein flavors to fuel your gains. Add a scoop to water or milk when you're on the go, or mix it with yogurt for a satisfying late-night treat when cravings hit. With Long Life protein powders for men and women, you get pure protein without artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, or fillers.
All right, we're back. So, Bridget, I feel like I'm already panicking inside because I don't like how fast the time is going. As always, I'm like, Sheila, I need a half a day with you just
She's
to
like, you can find me
scratch
on
the
my
surface.
website.
Yes.
Schedule an appointment.
Yes, I know. I'm going to. So one of the things, so we're talking about, modeling that behavior in front of teens and kids, particularly with teenage girls. What are some of the things? So like certainly reinforcing the positive self-talk, modeling that behavior. Is there anything that we should be doing, any interventions we should be doing now so that as 16, 17, 18-year-old women, when they hit their 30s and 40s, they're not, or maybe it's, I think everyone's going to, it's just the human experience. You're always going to feel like you failed, like you didn't do enough. But how do we sort of right the ship on this one with this younger generation?
Well, I think it's that piece that I said that you both just went, no, that's too hard.
It is. Okay, bring us back, Sheila. Bring us back. Reel us in.
How can you proactively state things that you appreciate about yourself? Whatever it is. Like, come up with ways, even if it's, and in addition to, when you make a mistake, say, oh my gosh, that was really adorable of me. I mean, I really messed up there, and it's totally, I know it's okay to mess up. We don't need to be perfect. The statistics show that girls from the age of 12 do not think they are allowed to make a mistake. They're not allowed. So that's what we want to overcome, which means that we ourselves cannot get hard on ourselves if we make a mistake, but to actually say, call it out and say, oh my gosh, that I am so adorable that I did that, and I'm going to correct it by doing this instead. And when you start treating yourself better, they can treat themselves better.
That's good.
That is a good one.
That's hard. So, Bridget, when you stand in front of the mirror naked tonight, what are you going to be saying?
Go to bed. No, I love you. I love you, Bridget. I love you,
Yes.
you goddess.
You beautiful, grateful goddess.
And can you, Sheila, okay, listeners, if you are watching our podcast, you can see that Christina and I have these beautiful scarves. I've got some cards on here. Can you see these? Let me turn it up.
Greeting
this way.
cards. Mm-hmm.
Some greeting cards on here. This is the goddess of friendship. This is me and Christina. This is a goddess of gratitude. Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
So tell us, as Christina's mocking my nakedness in the mirror, making me feel a little uncomfortable in my skin thinking about that one.
Oh, see, this is good
No,
exposure
actually,
therapy.
what I'm going to be saying is, damn, girl, you need a waxing. You need to get summer ready.
Your legs, right? I mean,
My legs.
You
That's
stop shaving those in the
exactly
winter.
That's exactly it. No, but tell us a little bit more about the Grateful Goddess. Tell us a little bit more about what this brand means.
Yeah. It was named the Grateful Goddess because it was to remind us that we are all one. And that when we come from a state of gratitude for recognizing all that we are and all that we have is completely perfect, whole, and complete exactly as it is. That's an expansive view in which even more blessings can come in. When we are constricted and are like, oh my gosh, I have to create this or my life is ruined, we're not going to create it. We're too constricted, right? So it's about getting into the vibrational alignment of flow, of ease. And that's why there's so much emphasis on the body awareness and the body's wisdom. And starting, I didn't really finish the piece on the stillness, doesn't always have to look like you're sitting still. It could be like a lot of runners say that they get it through running, right? It's that clarity of mind. It's when you release all the things and are just allowing, right? For me, when I was going through a divorce, because I was such an anxious, go person, I started knitting, right? Like knitting, it's those repetitive actions and motions. Christina, you were saying that you were out in the garden. Getting into the earth, like connecting to Mother Earth, will ground you, calm you. All of that is really helpful stuff. When my life was so busy that I couldn't see straight, and one of my favorite quotes, I think it might be a Peter Drucker, it's something to the effect of, there's no greater waste of time than perfecting that which never should have been done in the first place, right? So it's like, that's how much of my life I was spending doing all of these things and having to do them perfect. That when I got home, on my drive home, I'm thinking about all the things I needed to do when I got there. So there was a week or two during this extremely busy phase of my life where when I'd be driving was my stillness, right? I'm not multitasking while I'm driving. And I kept getting this message dropped into my head. The intuition was, check your downstairs freezer. Okay, well, that's weird. Okay, whatever. It's fine. I kept getting the message over and over and over again, only when I'm driving. This is before smartphones, so I'm not leaving myself a message. I'm not, all these things. And finally, after a week or two, I went downstairs and sure enough, the freezer had been unplugged. And I'm from the Midwest. There was hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of steaks and vegetables. And it was like, I couldn't, when you're that busy, when you're that consumed, you cannot hear the divine messages. So that stillness piece can look a lot of different ways. It does not have to be sitting in lotus position, meditating, but it does need to be giving yourself space to go within.
To hear. To think.
That's actually really cool to think about because I have a hard time sitting still, and to know that I could still be still while in the zone of something else, that makes me feel hopeful. Like, I mean, even when we were doing the body scan, I'm just like, oh, relax. My shoulders dropped 4 inches. And I was like,
And you used to do yoga. Like, that was like your thing.
Yeah.
And now you swim.
Yeah.
Like,
swim is very meditative.
Swimming,
we'll get there. But, I told you how it's very hard for me because all of these men in Speedos and I just can't stop staring. And it's very distracting. And I was telling my husband.
You're in Oro Valley. I would imagine they're not attractive men in Speedos. You got like Jack Black Speedos out there.
And it is impressive. I'm like, I'm like, okay. I mean, I can't stop staring at you, but like, wow. And then, there was this 80-year-old gentleman in his tiny Speedo that got in the lane next to me. So I'm doing my arms like this and I turned to take a breath and he was, maybe a foot ahead of me and he turned toward me to take a breath and all I see is just like wiener in my face. And I was like, I like to have some peace in here.
Not as peaceful as you thought it was going to be.
Okay. I retract the swimming is meditative.
I think I'll get there. I think for a lot of people it probably is. I just, I gotta get over that.
The peace.
The reason yoga is so awesome though is that it's not only going through all these motions that you have to give a lot of focus to so that you're doing these positions, but then there is integration at the end. You're laying in Shavasana and you're integrating that into your body. That's the piece that is often missing in what people are doing, integrating it.
And if those who have not done yoga, Shavasana is where you sit, you lay down with your legs and your arms just in relaxed position.
They call it corpse pose.
It's the position you take when you're ready to take a nap. It's the greatest. It's wonderful.
It's the reward
It's
for the work.
reward for your hard work.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
here for the Shavasana. Yeah.
So somebody who is listening and starting from scratch and saying, okay, I've got to change some of these things. And I think that this is really something you have to build up to. I really have been, it's a lot of this stuff that it's just such funny timing because my 16-year-old was saying, well, Christina, I think you should just, she's like, repeat after me. I am beautiful. And I just was like, I can't say that out loud. And she was like, say it. And
Seriously.
I was like, I'm beautiful, like that. You know, I couldn't even be serious about it. I had to be funny. I had to deflect that I don't actually think that. And then there's this other thing like, well, if you walk around saying you're beautiful, then you're just totally pretentious and full of yourself. And it makes it so hard. But I think, and I'm sure that you would agree, but I want to hear more of your thoughts on this of what about when you're starting and it's hard for you to receive love.
Sure.
And I would say one of my kids has a really hard time receiving love.
Okay.
So how do you, you can't receive love until you love yourself.
But isn't that interesting that they're recognizing that you were unable to receive it also, and they're emulating that. Oh. So this took a lot of practice because, we're also trained to deflect all compliments. So I don't know if you notice, because I take time to make this transition, but you complimented me when I walked into this studio today. And I said, thank you. I didn't say, but blah, 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 blah. And if you really want to take it in, oftentimes I actually put my hand to my heart when I say thank you. And I will even go so far as to say, I'm just taking that in. I'm just really receiving that. Thank you. I just want to let that sink in.
I love the compassion in that. Mm-hmm. That's really... I might try that.
And it's easier to do. Doesn't it feel like an easier way to take the compliment?
Well, absolutely.
When you are
when you're
thanking them. When somebody gives you a compliment, assuming they're doing it genuinely, right? When they do and you deflect it, you are insulting them. You are telling them they're wrong. They've got bad eyesight. Something is wrong with them. They don't feel good and you don't feel good, and you walk away from that situation that way. When you receive what they've given you, they feel great for having said something out loud.
For me personally, that would be such a wonderful goal to be able to really receive that. And I hate to think that it's because I don't think that I'm worthy, which I know that I definitely have that. But my mom said to us one time, all my sisters and I are the same way. Like, oh my gosh, Christina, I love your shirt. Oh my gosh, I paid $3 on clearance, and I got it at Target, and you could go find one. They still have it. But thank you. How about just say thank you?
Yeah.
Why do I have to tell you that I'm only worth $3 or whatever it is? Mm-hmm. To just receive. Are you good at receiving compliments genuinely?
I didn't used to be. And I think historically is because most of the compliments that women would receive were from men. Mm-hmm. So it's, I've got to put my power, I've got to put my shield up, my power up. Mm-hmm. And, are you being genuine, or are you trying to come on to me? And so it's one of those, it was more of a power struggle with the compliment. But I find myself personally, the best compliments come from other women.
Yeah.
And I find that just so much more powerful. And I, like you said, just, oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. But I find myself sometimes, I got this on Amazon. I know, aren't they cute? I'll send you the link. And it's very, and it's, and I don't know if it's so much that I am finding my worth as $3 or I got this on Amazon, so it's super cheap, as much as it is, I want you think that looks good. I want to share that with you so you feel good in it. So I think as I've gotten older, and I think it's just because I'm getting older, I'm like, oh my God, you gave me a compliment. Thank you. But it's okay. Don't ever put your glasses back on, but to that point, like I embrace it more now than I ever did growing up.
Well, and I think the way that you broke it down of it's almost somebody giving you a gift. If my words can be a gift.
Yes.
That for me,
that
like that is a very tangible way that I can think about it. And then when you say it's almost a rejection when,
absolutely,
oh, no, I'm fat. No, I'm ugly. Like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Whatever that is, it really, I've never thought of it that way either. You're kind of rejecting somebody, and that sucks.
Especially when those compliments are coming from a loved one.
Right.
Or, someone.
But even when they're coming from a stranger. So I kind of want to go back to this man compliment or whatever.
Yeah.
I was dancing at an event, and at the end of, and I danced all night. And at the end of the event, this older man crossed the entire room to come over to me to tell me how much he enjoyed watching me. Now, his energy was really beautiful. That could have been really creepy or really beautiful. And so when you talk about you're having to decide all these things for men, I kind of feel there's a part of me that has compassion for men who they're not trained in how to give a good compliment, right?
So true.
And so we can help them by being honest and saying, oh, I'm not sure if you meant it this way, but this is how I received it. And this is how you could have phrased it differently, in which I could have received. You know what I'm saying? It's like we can help guide them, because at least during those years when I was getting that kind of attention that I did not want, it was smiling, that fakey smile, and just trying to protect, don't say anything. And that's not helpful to anybody. They need to be called out if they truly are a creep, and they need to know, hey, I'm on to you, and I'm going to tell the other women too, and HR, or it's the poor dude that just doesn't get it and could really use a little bit of coaching.
I love that you brought that topic up. So we, our target audience for listeners is, our female listeners, but we do have quite a few men out there that listen to our podcasts, the husbands, the boyfriends, the fathers. What advice can you give to a man, a husband, a boyfriend, a partner that sees their significant other struggling in this space? What advice could you give them to help lift or provide advice other than listening to our podcast?
Yes.
And looking at your website, Sheila.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would say that the way they can be most supportive is to not problem solve, but to listen, to understand, to repeat back to them what they heard, to ask better questions. When we feel heard and seen, we feel better about ourselves. So if they're not feeling good about themselves and are saying something mean about themselves, the male can say, oh, please don't speak to my love like that. That hurts. To hear somebody attack the person I love.
That is so good too.
That is so good.
That is so good. I will say I've done that with my son a few times. When he'll say something like, I'm so stupid, I'll be like, don't you ever talk about my son like that. And he gets he's like, Mom, you're just saying that because you're my mom and you love me. I'm like, don't you ever talk about my boy like that.
Right.
But I think eventually that does help you see a little bit beyond just yourself of, no, you're still a person and somebody that hurts to hear. You nailed that.
Because if he ends up saying, no, that's not true, blah, 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 you're not hearing whatever she's going through. It's like, tell me more. Why would you say that about you? I love you so much. I think you're so beautiful. I think this or that. Like, help me understand what you're going through and how it feels to be you in the world. Because that's the other thing, is that it's understandable that they do not get the woman's perspective because they've never had to live it, right? So if we attack them for not knowing, they're not going to learn. If we share with them the creepy stuff we go through that makes things not feel safe. I remember my daughter-in-law telling me how grateful she was that I shared some of my safety fears with my son. And she said, he just doesn't get it that I don't feel safe at a party without, it was those kinds of things. It's like, he doesn't know that?
Yeah.
We have to be on guard. We go through way more mental gymnastics. And maybe that's why their mind is so much clearer. They do not have a lot of thought. Well, that they say that we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and that 80% of them are repetitive, and that 90% of those repetitive thoughts are negative. So it's really, really that's
heartbreaking.
So that's why it's so important for us to do this work of trying to come to a place of, what do I want my life to look like? What thoughts do I want to add to it? How can I see this from a better perspective? All of that's going to be helpful. So if they're not clouded by that stuff, it makes sense, right?
Sheila, what's one thing, like if you were going to say, all right, start this today, listeners, what is one thing that they could start today to start building that trust muscle with their intuition? Like what's the one thing to start?
I would say that if your listeners are the ones that are so busy they don't have time for anything, there's a joke in the meditation community that says, if you don't have time to meditate once a day, you need to meditate twice a day. Because it will make everything easier, smoother, clearer. You're not going to be wasting all that energy. But to start, if that's where they are, I don't know if it's a time issue in the craziness, it is starting with your breath and more body awareness. So you can do that anytime, anywhere, all the time, right? Like, so anytime you're giving yourself more body awareness, it's like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I'll try not to go. I have no idea how much time we have. I won't go into the whole story.
We've got about 6 minutes left.
Okay. So when I first moved to Tucson, I had a very tumultuous year. My mother had died. My business partner left. I restarted, redefined the company. I moved across the country with my kids, all these different things. And I went to a medical spa in Mexico, and I had all these wires hooked up to me, and my job was to stare at the ocean and relax. And I'm like, I am crushing this. And they came in and they said, your stress is off the charts.
Wow.
It's like, are you serious? I am like
this is the best I got.
This is the best I have. And so that's why it was like, no, I have to incorporate this into my life or I won't be around, right? And so I hope you don't have to have one of those wake-up calls, but the reality is it's like you get very used to what your body feels like, that you don't know what calm, what ease, what in the flow feels like. And if it's a different feeling than what you're used to, the nervous system is going to think it's a threat. So you have to go into it and go, oh, is there a way for me to feel better? Is there a way for me to allow this sense? And I think oftentimes, at least for me, in all my history, it's like denying myself sleep because I think I have so many things that I have to do and so many things I have to please other people with. So I'm all over the board because it can also be your job. Your one thing could be breath as you're driving. It could be 3 deep breaths before you pick up the phone that's ringing. It could be 1 deep cleansing breath before you pick something so that you're incorporating more breath into your life, so that you're paying more attention to your body, so that you're starting to get a better sense of how your body feels and how you want it to feel.
I wonder how many people would do the exact same test that you did, staring at the ocean and peaceful, and they would be off the charts stressed as well. That, and not even having that awareness, that is frightening.
Yes.
This at a baseline, I'm anxious all the time, and stillness is hard. And that is, I feel like that's the eye-opening thing here is you might think you're doing okay and staring at the ocean and feeling calm, but your insides are.
Yeah.
Your insides are like those little bubbles in the waves. They're like,
yeah. And if that's the case, then do a walking meditation, right? Like now you're getting in nature, which is super healing, and you're walking and you're not trying to problem solve. Whenever I'm trying to problem solve, that's more resistance and constriction than when I'm just allowing and then bing, like the thought just drops in, right? And so like I used to teach walking meditation anyway, so I'm on one where you're really paying attention to all your senses while you're on this walk. And it was beautiful. There was a lake and you could hear the rustling trees and the sun on the water was just gorgeous. And all of a sudden I'm hearing all these bees. And I got out of my meditation. I flipped out because I went to a previous thought. Oh, bees are going to sting. I'm in danger, right? And then I calmed myself and I said, is that true? And I watched this enormous amount of bees like in this dance. And it was fascinating and it was beautiful. And I was just so calm because I wasn't bringing old stories with me. Just being in this present moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so. It's impactful. It's enlightening, and I think it's just that reminder that we all need to stay grounded. Stay grounded and open your eyes and just listen. Be grateful.
Yes.
Have that gratitude and try your best to remove that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is much more easier said than done in this current world that we live in with constant distraction. When you think of our phones, when you think of just life, and as Americans, it's we don't work an 8 to 5 anymore. Our office hours are 8 to 5, but you work before 8 o'clock, you work after 5 o'clock because all the meetings happen between 8 to 5. So you're working a, minimum of a 15-hour day, or in how do you stay grounded and connected to your inner voice and your needs and keeping that gratitude throughout all of it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Gratitude, the piece about it that I also want to bring up is that it's not just a thought. You have to feel it. And so you don't have to go to big accomplishments for the gratitude. Gratitude first for whatever it is. It could be the, cup of coffee. It could be just you're feeling gratitude for something that's apparent in your life. And it could be just this moment to sit in the backyard, whatever it is.
And
like
drink
just
your coffee.
Feeling it. Yes, it's feeling it. There was something else, but now it's gone.
Sheila, I feel so grateful that you came here today. I
think the timing is
I feel
perfect.
calm. I feel like I have a few things to take with me that I will make a priority to put into practice when I leave here.
I did think of the other thing. In terms of the body awareness, pay attention to what you're consuming. We know that the food we're consuming, what it does to the body. But what are we consuming with the mind. And I will tell you that I get really wrapped up. And I know that the news upsets me. So I've gone, years ago I went to the comedians delivering the news to me, which felt much, much better for a period of time. Now that's still too much, right? And so it is like when I start to pay attention to, I actually am the person in charge of me, and I am choosing to consume this level of information that is not making me feel any better. And when the reality is our power, what we're capable of doing, comes from more of a grassroots. I don't know if you've lived through any natural disasters or anything like that, but when things happen, like the California fires, people help people. We need to be reminded of the good in people because we get on display 24/7, the bad in people.
Yep.
So we have to create our own algorithm of taking in the positive news. So I've been in search of it. And read an article the other day about a grocery store that is free food for people. And it's a part of a library, and it's open 2 days a week. They serve about 200 people a day, and the food, they just come in, and it's beautiful. It's like there's sunlight coming in. It's not only are you providing food to those who are food insecure, but you're also giving them dignity. They're not having to prove that they're worthy of receiving this food. They're not having to go to dingy, dark, icky places. It's like a beautiful grocery store. And there's more and more of that. We see people with billions being evil, and yet I was just reading about Mackenzie Scott, who's given $19 billion, co-founder of Amazon, people. Do we hear about her? No, we hear about her ex all the time, but not how she is making a difference, giving $19 billion to help. And that's the thing. Women with money help children and women and education, and there is so much good done. So we need to support people.
Let's have that. So Sheila, you have to come back.
Yeah,
I feel
fun.
this.
Yes,
I knew we were going to be out of time way faster than we wanted. I want to do a part 2 of this, and because I feel like there's so much more that we need to get into on the gratitude piece and the community and generosity and all the things, because I believe so hugely what a difference that makes. And so come back, tell our listeners where they can find you if they want to learn more.
My website is SheilaElaine.org.
Okay, and we're going to have all this posted on our page after the show.
Yes.
Sheila, I'm probably going to you're going to see me signing up for more time with you.
Absolutely.
This was incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
This was so
Thank
fun.
you.
I'm so glad I recovered quickly.
Yes.
I am too. That was dicey.
Yes.
Yes.
And for our Backseat Thriver listeners, stay grounded, stay connected, stay grateful, and we'll see you guys next Friday.
Thank you.